project search webinar of 2019-2020. I wanted to introduce and talk a little bit about the webinar and then give you a little bit of housekeeping rules and what we'll be doing. Today's webinar is Project Search Year 1, Roadblocks, Detours, and Success. This presentation will explore challenges that are commonly encountered with starting a project search program, challenges such as securing a host business site, to recruitment of a program that many were familiar with, to the inclusion of a blended program that includes high school and adult interns will be addressed. In addition, intern case studies, narratives, including family involvement, mental health, and possible termination will be discussed. I also wanted to introduce Erin Ross-Burgess, Yolanda Fuller, and Jasmine White. They're our presenters today, and I'm just going to forward the presentation so you can see their biographies. Erin is the program coordinator for the Hudson County Office of Disability Services. Yolanda Fuller is the VP of Community-Based Employment for Hudson Community Enterprises. And Jasmine White is a transition coach for Hudson Community Enterprises and skills trainer for Project Search. Just a little bit of housekeeping. Everyone is on mute today just because we have a large group. You can use a chat or question and answer box, and I will be monitoring it in a second. We are recording these webinars, and they will be archived. And then once they're archived, you will receive an email that the webinar is up in our archive folder. And we will hold all the questions to the end unless there's a technical issues, and then you can use the chat box to let us know. And then finally, these webinars are hosted by the HealthMatters program in partnership with Project Search, and they're funded by the Ohio Developmental Disabilities Council. All right, Erin, did I say everything that I need to say?
Yes, I just want to add that unfortunately Yolanda was sick today, so it's just me and Jasmine who will be doing the presentation. Hello, everybody.
Oh. Hi, Jasmine. Well, we wish Yolanda a full recovery quickly. I'm going to pass the presentation, Erin, to you. Is that okay?
Yep.
And have you advance the slide. There you go.
Okay. Okay. Is it working? It's advancing, right? Okay. So we broke this presentation down. Thank you. We broke the presentation down into 4 phases. So the first one is the blueprint. So it's just basically mapping out everything when it comes to Project Search and how we started over here in Hudson County. So we had a steering committee that consisted of many partners. We were fortunate enough to receive some funding from the Kessler Foundation. The county is the license holder. We are located in New Jersey. We have DDD, which is our state disability developmental partner. DDRS, which is the vocational partner from the state level. The Jersey City Public Schools, who are our lead school district. Hudson Community Enterprises and Goodwill, those are our CRPs, which is the Community Rehabilitation Partners. And the DoubleTree and the Jersey City Medical Center are our 2 host business sites. So when it comes down to Project Search, funding was a big deal because you have to pay a certain amount of money in order to get the license. So the Hudson County Office of Disability Services, which is the office I oversee, funded the initial payment for the host business site for the licensing agreement. We also received money through our Children's Interagency Coordinating Council, which is money that is filtered through the state, and we applied for funding through the Kessler Foundation and received it. So we were fortunate enough to have 2 business sites at one time, which is a little crazy, but we are really optimistic and it actually worked. The Robert Wood Johnson Barnabas Health Jersey City Medical Center, they actually approached us and wanting to be a partner. And we reached out to the DoubleTree by Hilton in Jersey City. we also work with Embassy Suites as well and Sea Caucus, so it's almost dual with them. And the hotel is actually the first hotel in the state of New Jersey for Project Search. All the other Project Search locations in the state are hospitals. We're happy to say that we have the hotel as the first in the state. So now we're just going to have a video from Danielle Havey, who is the general manager of the DoubleTree, and she also serves as a business liaison for us. So Jasmina, I need to pass it on to you.
So Erin, it looks like there is no sound to the video. So remember how we tested it yesterday, and we were having a video sometimes in the sound, but sometimes it gets a little bit tricky when we have multiple people or a large group, and the audio gets lost. So I do wonder if we can try the other video on slide 22, but I'm thinking maybe you can do a description of the video if it's not working. Okay, so some people are saying that there was a sound, but some people are saying that there is no sound. So I don't know how to. These videos are less than 2 minutes, so we're gonna just try to they're really neat videos, so we're gonna just try to play them, and then we're going to try to figure out, for those of you who could not hear, how you can access them to listen to them after. Apologies, but I don't really know how to technically support it if some people are having and some people don't. And yes, the presentation will be, the PowerPoint will be posted along with the archived video, archived webinar as well, so you will get it as well. All right, so we're going to continue. Erin, I'm passing the presentation to you.
Okay, thank you. So basically, Danielle was saying in the beginning there were a few challenges. So I guess they were a little apprehensive about having the students on board. But as they opened up their minds and realizing that individuals with disabilities should receive the same treatment as everybody else, and that they're capable of doing these jobs, her, the team, everybody there were on board. And they actually realized that some of their staff were affected by it, which we'll talk about later with some of the employer events. Next slide. Okay. So in regards to recruitment of our service providers and the interns, because the county holds the license agreement, we did an official RFP, which is a request for proposals, to find out who was interested in being the lead school district, because we don't have the capacity to do that here. And we had 2 responses, and based on that, the Jersey Public School Board was the one that was selected to be the lead school district. The New Jersey Division of Vocational Rehabilitation, they issued a request for proposals, and some people from the steering committee were there to hear the providers who came in. And I believe it was about 4 or 5 people came in and interviewed with the panel. And of those 5, we chose Hudson Community Enterprises and Goodwill Industries of Greater New York and Northern New Jersey. They have a long title. With the school districts, we wanted to let everybody know that this is available. It's a county-wide program. So Hudson County has a special education directors meeting where all the superintendents of special education come together. So we did a presentation there. And for many of the school districts, we also went to the special education parent advisory groups. We reached out to the child study teams. We went to their actual meetings and their presentations. We went to various transition fairs. And then we had open house for school personnel where all those people could attend based on the time of the information session. In regards to the interns, we had an open house here at the county. We did parent meetings, so we had the parents come in. The county executive and the administration here was kind enough to do full-page ads in the main newspaper that's here for the county, also for the local newspapers. Wait, oh, sorry. And then, I'm sorry, I got distracted. So the next part is phase 2, which was the selection part of the program. This is just a list of the application checklist, and we could also forward our applications to Unit 2 so that you guys can see what we were requiring. I'm not going to read this; it's kind of self-explanatory. Jazz is going to talk about skills day and the different stations that we had.
Okay, yes. So for our first year, our stations here, we had trays set up, which would be dietary, and they would have to follow a ticket that would have various items on there. Some items were a little messed up. Some items were not supposed to be there. So we wanted the interns to differentiate between the menu tickets and make sure that the trays were according to the menu. We also had folding linens. For the hotel, they have their dining area in which a lot of the interns have to fold silverware into the linens. So we had some linens that were messed up, some had some stains on them, and we wanted to see if the interns would recognize the difference in the linens. We also had reception, in which the interns would have to greet somebody who was at least 10 feet away from them and ask them if they needed any assistance or if they needed, escorting to a certain location. We had filing because in the hospital we do have a mailroom department, so we had it literally looked like a mail slot in which they had different labels on each of the slots, and the interns had to file the letters according to the label on the lettering in the mail slots. We had patient transport, in which the interns had to transport either one of the project search staff in a wheelchair to the second floor and bring them back down to the first floor. And then we had an individual interview with both business liaisons for both Jersey City Medical Center and DoubleTree Hotel. And then we also had a group activity in which it was about maybe 7 or 8 interns. And they would just have to interact with each other, have little fun games to see how, their communication skills were.
So when it came to the final selections, we were fortunate for the first year to have Evan Riley help us out. She was on site that year. So after all the students went through the skills day, we sat down, we did the same day debriefing, and we chose which students would be accepted into the program. We also had a tour of the host business site along with Erin so that we can see exactly where the students will be working at, the department managers, the skills trainers started to learn exactly what skills they would need to develop before the students came on site. And the
business liaisons helped us with the initial first tour of the host business site. I could speak for Jersey City Medical Center. Our business liaison, Joshua Remlin, he coordinated the tour and basically coordinated about 7 or 8 departments that were on board when they heard about Project Search. So we went and met with all the departments and talked to the directors, some of the staff, and got some tasks that they would want the interns to participate in.
And also based off of how they performed at Skills Day is where we placed them for that first internship site, because there wasn't enough time for them to go through the interviewing process to see where they may want to go, what department they want to be in. So we looked at where they ranked highest and we put them into that department. So if they perform really well with the filing station, they will be put into the mailroom. So the third phase is roadblocks and detours.
Yes, so of course, first year we want to expect some type of roadblocks. Not everything is going to be perfect, but how can we break through these roadblocks? So for our host business site, their expectations weren't up to par. Some of them, had concerns of our interns being in their department. Some of the mentors didn't want to be mentors. They had, negative influences on the interns. So we definitely had to get a good relationship with the departments so they can see who our interns are. We also had, in the beginning of the school year, we had meet and greets with all the departments in which they were able to meet the interns prior to starting the rotations. Some of the classroom spaces were roadblocks for us. I can speak for DoubleTree. Their space wasn't enough for our interns and our staff, so the whole class had to meet in the dining area. They made the best of what they could, but definitely they did not have a classroom space. So that kind of gave them a roadblock when they would have to have individual meetings. During the rotation meetings, that kind of put a roadblock for that site. For our site, for Jersey City Medical Center, we did have a classroom, and for our 6 interns and 2 staff, it was okay as far as spacing-wise, but I can speak for this year. We've increased our size to 10 interns and 3 staff, so we still have the same classroom, and it's definitely a bit more tight for us, but we are making the best of what we can with our classroom space. A lot of the times, host business sites do not have a classroom space for you. So that definitely is important to narrow out in the beginning of the year to assure that your host business site does have a classroom space for you. Also, our internship opportunities. It's important that skills trainers, your business liaisons, instructors, all speak to anybody in the host business site. Say good morning to somebody, ask them what department they're in, because you never know if that can be a rotation for you. We also, in the beginning, we had the opportunity of having our 7 rotations, but definitely as your classroom of interns increases, you want to make sure that you increase your internship opportunities as well. So throughout the year, it's really important to speak to different staff and have meetings and hold events for Project Search so everybody can know who you are, why you're there, and hopefully, you can have departments who are willing to come to you rather than you come to them. So that's important as well. For our family involvement, it's definitely important that the families are involved. Project Search is a collective program in which you need everybody's involvement, especially parents. Some parents weren't as involved as we would like them to. It's definitely important that you have your parents involved in the rotation meetings. Sometimes you may have some problems with our interns in which you would need parents to come in and, assist with speaking to your interns. So definitely you want to make that clear in the beginning of the year that family involvement is crucial and is needed, and most importantly, not an option.
And I would also say, just to drive home the point with the family, that the end goal is employment. Even though we said it a million times, we would still get parents at the end of the program saying, okay, my kid is going to go to college. It's like, yes, Mom, he could go to college, but we want him to work as well. So family involvement is super important.
So we have our student scenarios. We had, for our Jersey City Medical Center, we had one intern who definitely was having a hard time with transitioning from school to work. The environment was also a problem for her, being, now you're coming from a school in which you were around students your age, and now you're in an environment where you're working with primarily adults. So it was definitely hard for our intern. to transition her maturity as well as her behavior. For first and second rotation, if I'm not mistaken, her first rotation was emergency department. So, you know, being in that intimidating department, she really had a hard time with making sure she was conducting herself professional. So we had to always go back into her department and make sure that she was doing what she was supposed to be doing. Second rotation, she was in occupational physical therapy, in which these departments are really patient interaction heavily involved, and she would really have a hard time with staying on task. You know, she would get caught in the bathroom on her phone oftentimes, or she wouldn't want to work with certain staff members. So we definitely had to redirect our intern often. She also had an incident where she was redirected by a staff member in the cafeteria, and I wouldn't say that she lied about what the staff member said to her, but she definitely did not tell us the whole full story. So because of that, we had to get security involved, and it was a really whole big thing. And, you know, at the end of the situation, we realized that the intern was wrong, and her immaturity and her inappropriate behavior impacted a staff member and possibly their position in the hospital. So it's really important that, you know, you work with your interns. As you know, Project Search is a teaching program, and we want every lesson to be a teaching moment, not, you know, more so a consequence. But our intern definitely really had a hard time with transitioning from school into the environment of the hospital.
Jasmine, we have a question.
Yes.
What did the intern do in the physical therapy department?
For our physical therapy, we didn't have permission for the intern to interact with the patient during the session. So basically her tasks were to assist the therapist. She would have to gather the heat pack, the cold pack, and any equipment that's needed for the session, but she wouldn't have the opportunity to assist with the session. She would just assist the therapist with getting everything ready for the session. So she had a hard time with understanding that. She also had a hard time with her conversation. She was inappropriate at times. So she would, you know, a lot of the times in that department, a lot of the patients were recurring patients in which they would come 2-3 times a week. So she made rapport with certain patients, and some of them she had inappropriate conversations with, in which some of them felt uncomfortable about how, you know, she was speaking and what she was speaking about. Also, like I said before, she would leave off the floor and she would go to the bathroom on her phone, and she would be missing for 15-20 minutes. So her mentor would get worried and say, you know, where is Janisha? And she would be in the bathroom on the phone. And when she would get redirected, she would have a hard time with getting redirected. If it wasn't from myself or the instructor, she still would have a hard time with respecting her mentors, because it wasn't her Project Search staff. She felt like she didn't have to listen to them. So we had to, you know, redirect her with that too. If skills trainer and instructor is not there, your mentor is in place and you need to follow their directions.
And another follow-up question, how did you respond to the site's concern?
It's really important that you have that open communication with the department, because oftentimes we did not get all of the full truth because they wanted to protect the intern as well. So it's important that you do your follow-ups weekly, if not daily, for interns who need more support. Because we had such an open relationship with the department and communication, they would call right away and let us know that they need assistance or something happened. Can we meet? About the intern.
I guess I'll jump into the next scenario. So in regards to mental health, one of the students over at the hotel, I would say the financial instability and the family dynamics kind of went hand in hand. His first assignment was as a busser. So he was responsible for cleaning the tables, bringing out stuff in the restaurant area to those who were there. And when they would leave tips, at the consensus of the group was the tips were to go to the actual employees. They weren't for the interns. So he would end up taking the tips. And we found out later on it's because his family was kind of forcing him to gain employment, letting him know, since you're working here in this program, you know, we need help at home, you can help pay for this bill. So he was feeling the financial stress of the household put on him because he was working in the program. Although the program is an internship and it's unpaid, they were still putting that pressure on him. So we did find that he did steal some of the tips, and a computer had walked. But then once the instructor kind of approached everybody about it, the laptop returned. So that was one issue we discussed with the family and with him, and he was honest with us. We also later found out that he was supposed to be taking medication, but he would tell the instructor that he was taking them, and really he wasn't. In that one incident, he also approached his skills trainer and informed her that he was cutting himself. So those are all things that were addressed by the staff there. It was brought to the attention of the parents. We ended up calling in the child study team, and his sending school district will also send in the school psychologist just to give us more information on what was going on. Because we're going to talk about, so I'm just going to give you the problem part. In regards to the student with termination, he was always late. He would have unexcused absences. In regards to unauthorized breaks, he was also following the leadership of some of the other staff who weren't performing as well. So he thought it was all right to just leave when he wanted to. He got caught sleeping in the closet space when he was responsible for, I believe it was the public space, where he had to clean all the public space area of the hotel. So he'd be sweeping, he'd be mopping, he'd be wiping down the windows. He would also help with setting up for the catering part. But then he didn't have a good mentor at that time, which we didn't realize. And ultimately, it was a lack of motivation because I think his family wanted him to do the program more so than he wanted to. So I would say during that interview process of the skills day, that would also be something where you can ask the students, do you want to do this program? Why do you want to do it? So now we'll go to the outcomes.
So the outcome for our probation intern, we had numerous family meetings. Every time that we had an incident, we would come back as a project search staff, we would discuss it, and then we would include the intern's family and the intern. That intern was placed on probation, in which she was taken off the floor and retrained in the classroom for 2 weeks. She had restricted duties, so we kind of kept her away from patient interaction, and we kept her really focused on one task. And in this rotation, we took her out of the OTPT because the second rotation was ending. So third rotation, we placed her in dietary, and she primarily first started within the dish room for about 2 weeks, in which when we saw her improving on her attitude and her behavior and her communication, and we brought her into the kitchen. It was really important that we wanted her to acknowledge her mistakes before we were able to place her into an open area with more interaction with other staff and patients. And in that case, we also did daily check-ins. If it wasn't the skills trainer, it was the instructor going in daily to check in on that intern.
In regards to mental health, like I said, we set up a family meeting with the general manager, and prior to, the general manager was ready to just terminate him, which is understandable because if he's an employee of her hotel, we had them follow the same standards as any other employee, even though they're interns. So her first thing was termination. After speaking to the family, she realized the pressures that was on him. So we then decided to do restricted duties with him. So he was responsible for public space, but he would just be like in the hallways. He would be responsible for sweeping and for vacuuming, where someone could basically see him at all times. We did coordinated support services by providing him some counseling and also seeing that he was taking his medication. So we reached out to the child study team, like I said, and had those support services in place for him. There were daily check-ins when he had to come to his instructor to get his medicine and make sure that he did take it. What we found out is that he really wanted employment. So we were able to get him part-time employment in the community. And once he started working there, his whole attitude changed because now I guess he felt the pressure of the financial strain lifted. So he performed like a complete turnaround. It's a different student there. So he really made progress. In regards to the termination case, there was a meeting with the general manager as well. The family was brought in just to let them know what's going on, to see how they can assist in having him come in. The project search staff came in. It was also presented at the steering committee to see what we wanted to do, if there was going to be termination. So the committee and everyone decided that we would do a probationary contract. So he was a high school student. So in lieu of Christmas break, he had to work those days. Because if you're an employee at the hotel, you have to work during holidays. So he was open to that, and he did work during that period. But ultimately, he then regressed back to his old ways. And at the end, we did end up terminating this gentleman from the program. Now we're going to get on the daily grind. And because Jasmine's with the students all the time, she's going to go over this.
I do want to say with the termination intern, he did return back to his home school in which he was still in the vocational program that I am employed with, Hudson Community Enterprises. So he did complete the ending of his senior year, and he did receive his high school diploma.
Yep.
So for our daily grind, we definitely wanted to have our interns involved with the departments. So like Erin was saying, in the first rotation, project search staff place interns in their first rotation based on their skills day tally sheet. So for second rotation and third rotation, we definitely had our workshop week, in which it was our transition week. We would prepare our interns for interviews, resume building, and we also gave the interns choices of their next internship site. So we gave the interns 3 choices in which they would be able to choose 3 departments in which they would want to be placed in. With those 3 departments, we scheduled 3 interviews for all the interns, the department staff and directors. After that, the departments would have to make the choice of the intern that they felt was most fit for the department. Definitely, we did have, not all the time, but we did have some departments in which they did not choose an intern for all 3 of their choices. So we would have to go back into those departments and ask for another interview or even a working interview, because, you know, sometimes our interns are not capable of socializing up to par for an interview. So we definitely scheduled a working interview in which they would be assigned a task in that department with the mentor or the staff or the director, and that would take in place of their interview process. So watch out for potholes. Like we said, you know, there's definitely going to be some roadblocks and some detours. For our first year for Jersey City Medical Center, we had some unexpected requirements of our departments. For our laboratory, which was a great department in which they really received our intern well, but infectious control, the director of infectious control came into the department of the laboratory, and that director had some concerns that our interns were not, they didn't have that experience with being in that environment with blood specimens. So she wanted the interns to have, I guess, experience with bloodborne pathogens. So we had to remove our intern out of the laboratory, as well as the patient transport. We didn't have to remove them from there, but they definitely wanted the intern to have CPR and first aid training, in which we did have all the interns for both sides scheduled a CPR and first aid training for all of them together. For the laboratory, we have not had the opportunity of getting that training or that certification for bloodborne pathogen, but we still have that opportunity on the table. So we're still looking into getting the interns currently that we have now with that training, so we can go back into the laboratory because they still are interested in receiving an intern. Some of our departments had a change of heart once they saw a lot of the interns working during first rotation and second rotation. So patient transfer was one of our departments in which third rotation, they wanted an intern. We didn't start off with patient transport. They came to us and said that they wanted an intern, but they did have a requirement of them having the CPR and first aid training. So we got that, and now we have that as a concrete department. And then false praises, like I was saying, for our probation intern, it's really important that the departments do not false praise or give lack of accurate feedback on their performance in the department. it's really important that you get that accurate feedback, even if it's positive or if it's negative, because if it's negative, we don't want it to stay negative. We want it to change to positive. We want to, assure the department that we're here for their support. So it's important that you assure your departments that you're here for their support, and it's important that they give that accurate feedback. I can say for one of our departments for ER, we have a great supervisor, but she definitely withheld some information from us as far as the intern being inappropriate for our probation intern. She wouldn't tell us when she was caught on her phone in the department. So when these incidences arrived and we asked her, she acknowledged and she did say, yes, the intern is on her phone. But, when that problem arose, she did not let us know at that moment until it became a big problem. For DoubleTree, definitely, the lack of work was a big pothole for them because they didn't really have too many internships. So it's important to always open up your internship opportunities and speak to staff and speak to your directors. If you see an opportunity and you see a need, definitely speak up to staff or directors or even your business liaison, because they can really be your assistants in giving you more internship opportunities and work opportunities.
And at the DoubleTree Hotel, there was a lack of work. So there weren't a lot of options initially with departments that they could be in. So the project search staff and hotel management would interview all of the students and end up placing them. That's changed for our second year. And there was also some internships like the housekeeping, the linen, where we do the laundry. That internship site didn't open up until 10 o'clock or sometimes until noon. So the intern was placed there. They would normally end up working in valet, where they wouldn't drive the cars, but they would take the luggage and they would tag the luggage and bring the luggage upstairs, and then they would then report to the laundry room. Guys.
So our daily schedule is really, really important. I'm not sure. It depends on your intern size and if you have more than one skills trainer. For our first year, it was just myself and our 6 interns. So I would separate my week by seeing 3 interns daily and then following up on all interns on Friday. For our daily schedule, we would do 8 to 9 classroom instruction, in which we would check in with the interns, make sure they're okay, follow up from the day prior if anything arrives. We would assign them back to their work site from 9 to 11:30. Some interns did have lunch with their departments, in which, we want to encourage them to be included with their departments. But we kind of set a schedule for them to have a lunch with each other as well if they were not with their department for lunch. So their lunch is 11:30 to 12:15, 45 minutes because we followed the host business site schedule. So all employees have a 45-minute lunch. They would then return back to work from 12:15 to 2, and then we would have a classroom wrap-up from 2 to 3. For the DoubleTree Hotel, they would have their classroom instruction from 8 to 9. They would have a 10:15 work site. They would have a downtime in between for a break from 10:15 to 10:30. They would return back to their work site from 10:30 to 12, and would lunch from 12 to 12:30. As you see the difference in the lunch times, their host business site, their employees have 30-minute lunch, so they followed that procedure and that protocol. And the interns will return back to work site from 12:30 to 2, and then they would have a classroom wrap up from 2 to 3. These are a list of our internship departments. For last year, we had emergency room, environmental services, food and dietary, materials management, laboratory, patient transport, occupational and physical therapy, linen, and mailroom. And this year, we actually added in central sterile, human resources, and facilities. And for DoubleTree, they have engineering, food and beverage, housekeeping, public space, and ballet. So this is a video. Hopefully you guys can hear it. This is our instructor from Jersey City Medical Center. Her name is Erica. And this basically is her whole experience for our first year with Project Search.
I'm not sure.
Aaron and Jasmine, for some reason, my computer booted me out. I have the audio, but I do not have the visual. So Beth is on as an alternate host. She's going to try to play the video. Beth, can you hear us?
Mm-mm.
Is the video playing? Because I don't have a visual at all, unfortunately.
No.
Mm-mm. And we can't hear anything.
Yeah, it's not playing. I'm not sure if Beth can hear us, but
do you want to try to share your screen and play it from your side?
We can try.
Okay, let's try that.
Oh, ooh.
Where's the video?
Sorry, guys. Ooh. Sorry, guys. I don't know if I have it on here. I don't think it's on here somewhere.
Okay, so we may have to move on.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have it on the laptop. No.
Okay, is it possible to share the videos or just to post them on YouTube, or we can talk about that?
We can do that, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I guess
All right, so we can share them that way.
Okay. Oh, this is you. I'm trying to get back to this PowerPoint. I'm so sorry. No. Can I share it with you? Can I share it with somebody? Uh-oh. I don't know what happens right now. It's not down here.
Beth, did you pass the presentation back to them? Okay. So Beth, can you pass the presentation back to Erin so she can advance it?
Okay, I'm able to advance it.
Okay.
Because,
Yes, we're good.
Yeah, we're good. Basically, what the instructor, who is Erica over at the hospital, was saying how initially it was a little challenging because she's used to the classroom setting. I believe she's been in special education
17 years or something.
Yeah, going close to 20, yeah. So she has experience, but she's used to the classroom setting. And going from the classroom setting to a smaller setting where it's more one-on-one time was difficult for her, but she was up to the challenge, and she did a great job the first year because all of her interns received employment. This right here, these are videos of our two interns. Actually, both of them did receive employment, but when you guys get it, you actually get to hear exactly what they said. So the final part is the blueprint to success.
Our yearly events, really, really important that you have numerous events throughout the year. Erin really encouraged us to, if we have any opportunity to have an event for Project Search at our host business site, to do that. So we definitely had our kickoff ceremony in which we had both host sites together. We had an autism awareness event for both sites. We also had a mentor recognition dinner and lunch-in for both sites separately. The employee events, we also encourage our departments to include interns in any events that they did have. Certain departments have like nursing week or materials management week or
and housekeeping week over at the hotel. So it's like a competition or who can make up the bed the fastest. So they definitely incorporate the students with that. And it was also good publicity for the program itself. Because a lot of people say, well, what's going on? Who are these people? What are they doing? And you got to give your little elevator pitch in regards to Project Search and how great of a program it is.
So these are actual pictures of our graduation, our mentor recognition, and our kickoff ceremony.
Mm-hmm. And the kickoff ceremony, we always make it a really big deal. It's almost like a signing day. So they got to sign their contracts with their parents. They got to pin their parents with a Project Search pin. So we really made it a big deal so they could get excited about the program.
Our employment outcomes for Jersey City Medical Center, all interns receive job offers from these departments: dietary, patient transport, environmental services, materials management, and also linen department.
Then over at the DoubleTree, they did hire one student for the food and beverage, and he's still there now. One young man received employment at the Salvation Army Early Childhood Education Center. So he's working in the community. And unfortunately, one student, he relocated to South Jersey and is currently seeking employment at a Hilton affiliate down there. But the general manager definitely said if he was still living in this area, he would have been one of her first hires.
And these are some of our resources. Project Search Resource Guide, we also can email that to Yasmina. It basically was, the resource guide, no, I'm talking about the CRP forms. So we definitely use the resource guide on the Project Search website for a lot of forms for the department feedback. We use some of the videos on there to show the interns in the classroom. During our first year, we went to Savannah for the conference, and we met somebody who gave us this resource for a curriculum from maacce.org, in which they highlight people skills and soft skills. So we also used that in the classroom, which was a great help as well. We definitely use Schoology, YouTube, and our CRP forms, in which we would grade our interns and keep them for our own records. We did have our documentation that we had to submit to the state, but we also had forms in which we would grade the interns during observation and keep in their folders.
So that is the end of our presentation, and we're open to any questions you may have.
Thank you so much, Jasmine and Aaron, and I apologize again for me getting booted out as a host, but we always have an alternate host. We do have some questions already, and for those of you that have some questions, please put them in a question and answer box, and we're gonna try to get all of them. So the first question that I held was, what is the most effective method you have used to help the host understand that mistakes are inevitable and that this is a learning experience?
I would say definitely a lot of the departments have huddles. So Project Search staff, either skills trainer or instructor or both of us, we definitely attended all those huddles and basically spoke to all the staff as a whole about Project Search program and our interns. We also, in the beginning of each rotation, we made a personal profile of each of the interns, in which we distributed that to all of the staff and each department, in which they can understand our interns and how to best assist them, and how to help them when in need. If they have a problem or if a problem would arise, how can they communicate effectively with them? So definitely the personal profiles helped out as well. And like I said before, it's really important to have that open communication with the department so they feel comfortable with talking to you about a problem that may arise, or if they need assistance. You want to make sure that you're visible within the host business site so they know that, you're a phone call away and you can come right to the department and assist them if a problem comes up.
Thank you. Another question is, I know best practices for separate internships, but if a student excelled in one of the internships, could they repeat the first one? I have a student, maybe two, who have already been offered employment, and I would like to offer more support.
So that's a good question. We actually had that question arise this year with one of our interns who's really interested in the medical field. So her first rotation was pediatric unit in the emergency department. In our medical center, our emergency department is really, really big. They have different tentacles of the whole emergency department. They have fast track, triage, pediatric. They have, and then they have the main area in which they have the main, the beds where if once they were triaged and if they definitely need more medical attention, they would be placed into that main area. So what we decided to do for our intern this year, she's going to stay in the pediatric unit for the first rotation, and then she's going to transfer into fast track and triage as a second rotation. And then third rotation, she would either go to the main emergency department, or she would go to another medical floor, which would be the 7th floor, and assist as a PCT. So we wanted to keep her in that same interest, in that same field, because she eventually wants to go to school to get her PCT license to obtain employment within the hospital. And PCT, I'm sorry, is patient care technician.
We got a question. We have a question. A question popped up. It says, what are some rotations you do with your lower ability students at the hotel? What do you do if you run out of possible rotations to keep them busy all day? So last year we had a student who was on the lower spectrum, so we ended up having him in the restaurant area. So he was responsible for polishing all of the utensils. He had to fold the napkins, which he had to fold them a certain way, which was kind of crazy. But he started to master those skills. Once he mastered that, we put him in laundry because he was real comfortable with folding the napkins. So then in the laundry, it was just an easy transition for him to start folding those towels and those linens over there. And when times would get kind of slow, he would go in between both of those departments. And ultimately, at the end, he was starting to bust, where he would be able to bring out the water and things like that. So we started off really slow with him, and we built up. And we actually had Mom come in, and we taught her how to fold the linens and the napkins and the towels as well, so she can assist him at home. And we told her, you know, you can have him do this stuff at home as well with your stuff, and that really helps him out ultimately.
Thank you. Another question is, how do the various sites usually deal with job coach absences due to illness?
Can you repeat that question, Yasmina?
Sure. How do the various sites usually deal with job coach absences due to illness?
Mm-hmm. So the CRPs are responsible for doing the job coaching.
Okay.
At some point too, we are lucky enough with both of our organizations where if the primary job coach isn't there, we would send additional staff from that whole from the CRP. So Hudson Enterprises or Goodwill would send someone else in to assist that student, or even then the staff will also step in. Jasmine stepped in. Lisa, who is our skills trainer over at the hotel, she would step in, and then their supervisors would step in. And if needed, the county, it's myself, and I have a degree in counseling, and then my colleague also has a degree in social work. We can step in as well if needed. And then the school board, they always send people as well. So because everybody is well versed in special education, so we were lucky enough to be covered on all ends.
I believe the same person attendee said mentor absences are a bigger problem for them. So
mentor meaning from the departments?
I think so.
Yeah, so if that intern had their mentor absent, then it would be up to that department to assign them to a new mentor. You know, like today, one of our interns who was in patient transport, his mentor was absent today. So she placed him with another mentor. So it's really important not to just have one mentor per department. It's really important to have a fluctuating number of mentors in that department, just in case, you know, you don't want your interns to get so comfortable with one person. It's really important that they are able to work versatile with everybody in that staff, in that department. So really, I encourage to have more than one mentor.
And I think the huddles help too, because then everybody within that department gets to know the interns as well. So it's important to have them participate in everything that all of the employees usually participate in, as much as possible.
Another question, what was the hardest part in this entire process before the program officially started? Outside organizations, classroom, internships, planning?
I think it was getting everybody on board, because a lot of people aren't familiar with Project Search. And a big roadblock that we ran into with especially the school districts was, I already have a program. This isn't going to benefit us. I don't need it. But we kind of let them know that their programs are almost like a stepping stool into Project Search. Mm-hmm. So we're not saying that our program is better, but your program is going to help the students thrive in Project Search. But once people got on board, and we were lucky enough to have Bergen County and Union County, who were up and running about two years prior to us, so we were able to bring people to tour that facility as well. So they got to see hands-on what was being done or what could be done in our community.
Thank you. Another question is, what type of training do you have to help with making accommodations for interns in your training when an intern is having a difficulty completing a task?
I definitely suggest task analysis. If that intern is having a hard time with that task, it's really important to break it down into multi-steps to see how, and what areas are they having a hard time with. It may not be the whole task as a whole, it may be certain steps in that task. So breaking it down in a task analysis, you would be able to find out in which area of that task they're having a hard time with, and you can focus on that particular area to assist them. So during the summertime, while we're not in Project Search, I would still be in our host business site, and I would have meetings with our departments and our staff to see of the tasks that they want the interns to do, and I would break it down and create my own task analysis prior to the intern starting, so that can assist them as well with beginning the rotations. So it's important that the skills trainer knows the task really, really well, so they can be, the forefront of teaching that intern the task with the support of the mentor as well.
Thank you. I have another question. What type of information did you provide during your autism awareness event? What were your education resources, and what was the venue?
So we actually brought everybody together at the hotel. So the students from the hospital came over, and the Jersey City Board of Education, some of their personnel came out and actually did the presentation from their child study team. So they presented to the employees who were there as well as to the students to let them know what to look for, what to expect, and just to have a general conversation. And actually hit home for a lot of them because some of the workers there actually had family members with autism. So it was relatable as well. So they got to share their stories, and they just shared information.
For the hospital, we had a table in the cafeteria during lunch hour in which both sites attended and Project Search staff attended, and we just spoke to the staff that came to our table and gave them awareness of autism and how to assist somebody with autism, especially our interns. We just gave out flyers and information basically from the website. We didn't get any, special information, or we just went on the website and got what we can. We gave out cookies and pins to the staff members. Definitely this year we're going to be coordinating with the Director of Diversity and Inclusion to have a more formal in-service for the staff who wants to come to learn more about autism.
Thank you. Another question, do most sites provide bus or transportation the summer before the internships begin or right before they start their employment?
For last year, NJTIP did travel training for all the interns. This year, the skills trainer travel trained the interns in the summertime. It's important that you do it a little closer to the beginning of September. So we started really in August, but it would be good to start either July, August, and at least to do 2 or 3 trial runs with the interns prior to September school starting. So we definitely did travel training, and all the interns are independently traveling to the host business site.
That was a requirement. We wouldn't provide buses for the students to get there, but the school districts will provide bus tickets that can be used so that they can get to and from. Luckily, we have a heavily public transit system here
in Jersey
Hudson
City.
County. Yeah.
Thank you. Let us know if you have any other questions. We are getting to that 1 hour mark, so I don't want to keep people too much longer on the webinar. The next webinar, I wanted to actually thank you so much, Erin and Jasmine, and just even with the technical difficulties, thank you so much. And it's such an interesting and a well-needed topic. It's such a needed way of connecting with other sites and kind of being able to share your lessons learned and how you deal with different issues that come about, because oftentimes things are pretty similar across the sites. So thank you very much. We are going to stick around, if you can just stick around, Erin and Jasmine, for a few more minutes to see if there are any other questions from the audience. Again, thank you for listening. Also, I wanted to remind you that our second webinar is on December 10th at 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern Time, and it's on Suicide Prevention 101, the perception of happiness. So if you can make that one, that would be wonderful. Thank you all. We're going to stick around for a few more minutes to see if there are any other questions that come through. Otherwise, have a great rest of the day. Thank you. And Beth, you can let me know if there are any questions.
I know we have a question here, Yasmina, that someone asked if they can access a copy of the PowerPoint. Will you upload that to everybody?
Yes, yes. I know some of the people joined a little bit later. Yes, the webinar is being recorded. The PowerPoints will be shared, and any extra documents that you guys mentioned during the presentation, we're going to upload it. And then since you have registered, an email will be sent out to you letting you know when that upload has happened, so you can utilize it or you can take a look. So yes. Any other questions that are coming through on your end, Erin and Jasmine?
No. Nope.
All right. I don't think we have any on this side either.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. You know how to reach us.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. And we'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Oh, we have one question.
Oh, wait.
Oh, more question. Okay.
So it says, how do you tell mentors to be more strict? It's definitely important that you include the department directors on that. You know, you want them to be comfortable with speaking with the interns. So, you know, speaking with the departments, they would be able to assign the mentors who they feel are the most patient, who will be able to interact with the interns best. And if needed, we'll be able to redirect them in absence of project search staff. So, you know, if you do feel like a mentor is not to say strict, but, you know, comfortable with redirecting an intern if they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, then maybe talk to the mentor and see, you know, are they even comfortable with doing that? If not, then, you know, what could we do to assist them to maybe understand the intern a little bit better, to feel comfortable with speaking with them and redirecting them if needed.
And then I had a couple of questions. Will you be sending a reminder invite for the next December webinar? Yes, I will include a registration link to the December webinar with the archived webinar of today. And then another question for you, Erin and Jasmine, is could you talk a little more about the mentor recognition?
Yeah, so, you know, it's important that you include your mentors in recognizing them of all the support that they've given the interns and the project search staff throughout the year. So for us, our business liaison coordinated an event at one of their other facilities of their satellites in Bayonne, and basically it was a party in which the mentors were invited by the interns. They were all given the opportunity to choose 2 or 3 mentors from each rotation that they had, in which they wanted them to be recognized. The mentors received a mentor pin, and each of our interns last year did a speech upon the mentors that they were recognizing. So it was a dinner party in which we highlighted the mentors that were invited by the interns.
And at the hotel, they did a luncheon where the interns selected one mentor that they felt was important to them, and they wrote a letter to them and presented them with a letter and a gift. So it's just making the mentors feel important too, because they are important to the process of this program.
Great. All right. I don't think I have any other questions on my end.
Okay.
Thank you so much, ladies, again. Let's see. Beth says nope. So thanks. We survived.
Bye. Thank you.
Have a good day. Bye,
You
everyone.
Too. Bye. Mm-hmm.